Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where today I want to talk about one of the best albums of all time. Not just one of the best albums of its era, not one of the best albums in its genre, but of all time. And this was something Genesis put together in 76 called Wind and Withering. And this album was unique for many of the reasons that made Genesis unique. Genesis tend to get lumped into the sort of progressive rock genre, and that is, after all, what they are. But they were nevertheless very different than a lot of other bands in that genre, because many bands in the progressive genre wrote complex compositions specifically designed to sort of be a showcase for great solo and intricate group performances, but it was all about the performance. The composition allowed itself to be the vehicle for the performance, whether a Steve Howe guitar solo, a Keith Emerson or Rick Wakeman organ solo, a Chris Squire bass solo. You get the idea. Carl Palmer or Bill Bruford going wild on the drums. Genesis were very different, and consciously so, because they started out wanting to be a group of songwriters who would give their songs to others. Think Tin Pan Alley. But by the late 60s, when the Genesis guys, as kids in school, got together, the idea that a rock band would play someone else's songs, or even that a singer at this time would, was becoming out of fashion. This was the age of the singer-songwriter. It was the age of the rock and pop band that wrote their own music. So, sensing that that was the way the wind was blowing, get it? Wind. Mhm. They decided to write their own music. And I think that while they have so many great albums, they never really put out a bad one. Wind and Weathering really was sort of their apex in terms of creating something so musically cohesive, even though there wasn't particularly a concept behind the album. It did sort of have a musical theme. All of the music sounded like the cover. It was evocative of a kind of winter's day where the trees were losing their leaves and going bare. But it wasn't a depressing album, if that's what you're thinking. It was a very sort of just a wintry album. But not Christmas wintry, a different kind of wintry. Very, very interesting stuff. But again, it showcases the songwriting at its best, the layered chordal harmony for which Tony Banks was famous for. Mike Rutherford's ability to really write in that wonderful chordal style, just like Banks, because between the two of them, that was the lion's share of the writing on the album. Each song was absolutely fantastic, played brilliantly. Steve Hackett got one of his songs on the album, which, even though a very different kind of songwriter than Banks and Rutherford, his song Blood on the Rooftops was not only very fitting in the album, but weirdly, it's aged very well. It's all about the crazy stuff going on in the Middle East, and not crazy in a happy way. And so, the more things stay the same, the more. If only we had albums like this these days, but that the piece broke out. But who am I to say? So definitely check out this album. And I don't care if you hate prog rock. I don't care if you hate 70s rock. There is a good chance that because the writing is so strong, you will like this album, no matter where you stand on that particular genre. Give it a go. It's right there on Spotify waiting for you. You won't be disappointed. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.